I'm putting on my crazy scientist hat and chucking these plants into the dark for 3 months to see how they get on. Yep, you heard me correct. I've got 10 poor unsuspecting plants here that I'm going to torture for weeks and weeks to see which one comes out stronger. I'm not a sadist or anything, well, not entirely. Call it survival of the fittest. I just want to see once and for all which houseplant is the most tolerant of low light. We've all heard it plenty of times, haven't we? Snake plants, ZZ plants and even pothos all do well in low light conditions. But how true is that? Has anyone actually put in the hard graft and tested it out? Can any of them survive a few weeks in pitch black? Well, my plant friend, this video will answer all those questions once and for all. I don't know about you, but I constantly fret about my plants when I go away from home for a week or two, because I keep the curtains closed to make it look like the house is full at night while we're away. This means my green pals aren't getting the light they need, and they like to remind me of that when I'm back. So basically this video has come about because I want to know how long I can leave my plants in the dark before I've got a mutiny on my hands. Okay then, which plants have signed up for the challenge? And when I say signed up, I actually mean being forced to conscript. There's no democracy in this house, let me tell you. Obviously, I have to include the king of all low light plants, the sleeping warrior himself, Mr. ZZ plant. He's surely going to reign supreme, right? The snake plant doesn't mind being chucked in a cupboard, yeah? He's always marketed as a low light plant. Well, let's just see how he holds up where I'm going to put him. I'll also include everyone's favourite plant, the Monstera deliciosa, because I'm sure you're dying to know how this fella will do. Well, I am anyway. We've also got a handsome fern, a little haworthia, a spider plant, a calafea, an aglaonema, a devil's ivy, and I really want to see how a flowering plant does in zero light, so I've included the ever popular peace lily. And there they all are, lined up ready to do their duty for mankind. Hopefully we'll see them all again. All these plants are in decent health, as you can see. No yellowing or browning leaves, no drooping and no shedding of leaves. Yes, I managed to find a calafea and spider plant with barely any brown tips on the leaves. The plan is to pull them out of the experiment, if you can call it that, as soon as they look like they're starting to die. I don't want folks to start complaining to the RHS about me and get me banned from looking after plants. Right then, where are these guys going to call home for the next 3 months? In my basement. Looks lovely, doesn't it? What a treat to spend up to 12 weeks in this space, eh? Sorry pals, at least you're doing your bit for science. Your sacrifice won't go unnoticed. Look, millions of people are going to watch you all around the world on YouTube. They're not best pleased with me, but I'll make it up to them with a double dose of feed when they come out. No, Richard, that's not how it works. Shh, they can still hear you. So yeah, anyway, this is the basement to my Victorian home, and like most basements in Victorian homes in England, it sucks down here. Damp, dark, gloomy and miserable, with probably a few furry friends. But unfortunately for them, it's the only place in my home that gets near enough zero light. I say near enough because there are those 2 tiny air vents in the corner, but for all intents and purposes, this space is zero light. No one comes down here and turns the light on, which is key. I don't want even artificial light coming on except for when I check up on them. So which plants do you think will fare the best then? Let me know in the comments. I guess the obvious winners should be the ZZ plant and the snake plant, right? The proclaimed kings of low light. I'm betting they'll last the course. I've got high hopes for the haworthia. I don't know why, but I think succulent type plants might do well in zero light for a little while. I'm betting he'll last the course too. On the other hand, I don't think the peace lily will do well at all. In fact, I think this might be the first plant that needs rescuing, probably as early as week 2. The spider plant and calafea won't do very well either, probably needing to be pulled after the peace lily, maybe week 3 or something. The aglaonema will probably be okay, but I've got nothing to back that up, and who knows with the fern. Maybe he'll last until week 4. And what about the mighty Monstera? I actually think he'll start to go yellow fairly soon and won't last past week 5 at the latest. And there she goes, pitch black. See you in a week, pals, and once again I'm sorry. It's the end of the first week and I'm intrigued to see how they're getting on. Let's have a look. So it looks like there are no real surprises after the first week. It really would be a crazy demise if one of them was to need rescuing after only a week. No yellowing or browning on any of the plants. It does look like there is some guttation on the leaves of the Aglaonema monstera, but nothing to get too stressed about. And if you're not familiar with what guttation is, it's just the plant excreting excess water from its leaves. So it's kind of weeing, I guess. Anyway, it's not normally anything to worry about, and it actually makes perfect sense here because these plants have been chucked into a place with zero light, so they're not transpiring like before, and so have excess water to lose. Clear as mud? Let's fast forward. There's nothing to report on week 2. No incidents, no fighting, everyone getting along happily it seems. Week 3 goes by without incident too. Well done Peace Lily, you've made it this far. I did wonder if we'd start to see some yellowing on the monstera or the Peace Lily starting to show signs of stress, but both are happy as Larry. The Calafea is looking a bit droopy, so I've probed him and given him a drink. Not too much though, I don't want him to drown when he's living in these conditions. Week 4 I was away on my hollybobs in Wales, so the next checkup is on week 5, and lo and behold we've got some issues, and I don't just mean my dodgy camera work. It's hard to see, but the fern is looking and feeling a bit crispy. I do think he can hold out for another week though before I put him out of his misery. Take him upstairs that is, not shoot him. The Haworthia is starting to go mushy. Well, this is actually shaking me because I thought this gal would be one of the last plants standing. Turns out maybe not. We'll see if she can make a miraculous recovery in the next week and stop its leaves turning mushy. That's probably a mistake though. That's some crafty foreshadowing by the way. What else have we got? We've got a cheeky single yellow leaf on the Aglaonema. It's only one leaf though, so I won't panic, he can stay. I'm not sure what's happening to the soil of the Calafea. It seems to have grown some white mould since I watered him 2 weeks ago. Never mind, I'm sure it's nothing. The foliage is still holding out nicely. Look at the Peace Lily. Still got white flowers. That's mad. I really thought this wouldn't last. I thought he'd be on his knees begging to be rescued at week 1. Still looks very happy though. Ah, the spider plant. Now this guy really doesn't look happy. Let's get him out. Okay then ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. The first plant to suffer from having zero light. So it's been 5 weeks for this plant, and this is the first one I'm having to rescue because there's lots of leaves that have basically died, not getting enough light obviously. So I think I'm going to have to trim this back, trim all the bad leaves back, and I might get it under a grow light to rehab it. The leaves are looking quite pale, but it should bounce back. So we'll see how it gets on for the next couple of weeks. Look at these Haworthia leaves I pulled from the plant. Pretty gross, eh? I'm not sure why I'm not rescuing it because it's clearly in a bad way, but I guess 1 week won't make a difference. It looks like the Aglaonema yellow leaf is worse, but it is isolated to just 1 leaf. It might just be shedding its oldest leaf, so we'll be calm and not do anything drastic. It looks like the Calafea is now starting to show some brown leaves, so it's done well to last this long. It doesn't look too horrendous, so we'll leave it another week at least. Right, how's that Haworthia looking? Yeah, not great. I'm actually amazed at how much this has spiralled out of control. Did you see this coming? He's getting pulled out. Uh-oh, the fern is looking a lot worse too. I do feel a bit bad seeing these plants in this shape, but it is just foliage at the end of the day. They always grow back. They always grow back. The snake plant, on the other hand, is just sat there wondering what all the fuss is about. And surprisingly, the devil's ivy and monstera. No issues whatsoever. And look, the Peace Lily is still flowering. What a trooper. Right, so it's a bit easier to see the damage when you come out into better light. But these leaves on this Haworthia are very mushy and very slimy. Not looking good at all for this Haworthia. So I might have to repot that entirely. So that is not looking good at all. And then we have the fern, which has got very crispy leaves, black leaves. That's a good job I pulled that one out. So I'm going to put that somewhere nice and bright. I'll probably trim back all the damaged fronds, and hopefully it will recover. Okay, well from a distance I can already see that Calafea needs rescuing. Let's have a closer look. Yep, so it looks like yellowing leaves. This has got worse and worse, so this is the next plant I'm going to rescue. There's some mould in the soil as well. So we'll take that one out. The Aglaonema, so there's still that yellow leaf, but all the others still look pretty good. Doesn't need rescuing. Maybe that one's turning yellow as well, the bottom leaf. But they're the oldest leaves, so you would expect them to turn yellow first anyway, so we'll leave that at least another week and see how we get on. The peace lily looks fine, the leaves look fine, but that flower's finally succumbed, it's gone black. That one's still white. But other than that, absolutely fine. And the ZZ plant is absolutely fine. Maybe a touch of yellowing down there. A bit of yellowing on that leaf actually. The Monstera continues to do absolutely fine. All the leaves are nice and healthy. Maybe this one down here is going a little bit yellow. First sign on the Monstera that things are happening. But all the main ones, nice and green. Now the Devil's Ivy, this has really surprised me. And it's still, I would say this looks the healthiest of all the plants. Absolutely no problems. New leaves coming through there. That is looking really, really good. And the snake plant, it's not batting an eyelid either, from what I can tell. That's just absolutely fine. So I can only really see the true damage once I get a plant upstairs, and I think I pulled this Califea out at just the right time, getting a fair few brown leaves, so I chopped them off and put it somewhere bright to recover. I hope he does too, because I do like this plant. Week 8, and it looks like the Aglaonema needs to be pulled from the experiment. It looks like the yellowing is starting to spread and there's a general fading on the plant that I'm not a big fan of. Bringing him upstairs and all his ailments are revealed. I got him out at just the nick of time, I think. Was this ZZ plant this dirty when I brought him down, or has he accumulated this dirt down here? He's filthy. Apart from that though, I think he's looking pretty good still. The Monstera is still holding out nicely too, with just that one yellowing leaf. It looks to be the oldest leaf on the plant, so not too concerned. And the Devil's Ivy and Peace Lily are still doing miraculously well. I'm actually shocked that they're still doing this well after 8 weeks in. And the snake plant? Well, he's just the boss, ain't he? Right then, what week is this? Week 10. I was away last week, so it's been 2 weeks since the last check, so fingers crossed there isn't carnage down there. Okay, the Monstera is starting to show some yellowing on more than one leaf now. I'm pulling him. I don't want the heat in the comments from all the Monstera fanboys out there. But just look at this Devil's Ivy. It's got new leaves still coming through. I mean, how? He's defying everything we know about science at this point, continues to push out new growth in zero light. You know what they say? Not all heroes wear capes. Same with the Peace Lily actually. I thought we'd be the first to go, but here he is still looking fit and healthy. The filthy ZZ plant is looking as filthy as ever. I do really need to give him a shower when all is said and done. It does have the odd yellow leaf here or there, so probably not doing as well as the snake plant. Hang on. What's that? Is that a flower spike? I think that is anyway. Hey? How's that happened? I've never had a ZZ flower spike in all the years I've had this plant, and all I needed to do was chuck him into the dark for 10 weeks and boom! That is ace. Is that because it thinks it's dying or something and wants to produce offspring to keep the bloodline going? Let me know what you think in the comments. So I think we'll end this experiment now on a high. It's been 10 weeks and I don't think much is going to change with the remaining plants anyway. Plus all the files this video has created means it's going to take months to edit, so I best get cracking. What did we learn after all this palaver then? Well, apart from the fact that you probably think I'm some sort of psychopath, the takeaway for me is that plants are surprisingly resilient. It wasn't until week 5 that the first plant needed rescuing, so I'm going to go on my holidays in the future with the curtains closed worry-free. They can clearly handle it for a week or two. And the winners of this experiment, if you can call it that, are the snake plant, Devil's Ivy, Peace Lily and the ZZ plant. This doesn't mean you should keep them in the dark though. All plants love bright indirect light. Please don't keep yours in a windowless basement. This was just an experiment. So where are the plants now? The spider plant has recovered really well actually. He's loving life under my grow light on my IKEA cabinet in the living room. And the Aglionema and Calafea look like they'll see another day, which is more than can be said for the fern. Yeah, this one might bounce back in spring. That's the hope anyway. The Haworthia, you ask? Let's not talk about the Haworthia.